It's the Anfield Wrap, the podcast that celebrates the champions of Europe. It is the first one that we've done since Liverpool went to Madrid and beat Tottenham Hotspur by 2-0 to lift their 6th European Cup. That is absolutely loads of European Cups. It's more than most of the football teams. It's more than the rest of England combined. The Reds have proven once again that they are the greatest team, the greatest football club on the planet. Saturday night was the best of our lives. What a week it's been on this bus that we're travelling on. We're nearly at the Calais border going back to England now. Whatever you did for it on Saturday, whether you were in the ground, whether you were in the city of Madrid, whether you were back in Liverpool or somewhere else around the globe, I hope you had an absolute ball, and I hope that the thrill, the exhilaration, the joy hasn't left you yet, and that it lasts for the next few days, weeks, months, and just never ever stops as you support this weird and wonderful football team. The show is, as ever, in association with RedsBet. They are a gambling company with a difference in the half of your losing bets, that is to say their profits go to fan causes. You can go on there, and if you make an account, you can vote on which fan causes you would like your losses to go to. As I say, though, only make sure to do that if you are already a gambler, if you're already that way inclined, and if you are going to gamble with anybody, quite frankly, always make sure to do so in a way which is safe and responsible. I'm going to be joined by a cast of many on this bus as we talk about the game over the next sort of 45 minutes to an hour. For part one, I've got with me Josh Sexton, Ian Ryan and Timo Tini. And Timo, 50,000 people went to Madrid, all dressed in red, and they're coming back with a big shiny silver thing. What a weekend this has been.
It's been brilliant. It's been up there with the best for me personally. Had a lovely time last night, had a lovely time in Madrid. Just saw loads of people who were known, and just hugged them and shed tears with them, and just like, you know, as I was saying there, like it's like emotionally swallowed me up. I probably won't even come to terms with it until I'm nearly home. Been watching the videos on the internet all day, the homecoming. Just looks amazing, you know, and it was amazing. You know, it's great that Liverpool are again champions of Europe. You know, where they deserve to be, I think.
Josh, Liverpool are the best team in the world, I think. They've done a 97-point season. Just come up short in the Premier League because there are another gang of superhumans kicking a footy about just down the road, unfortunately. But they've done that and won this season from 3-0 down in a second leg against Barcelona. The self-determination of this group of footballers, the tactical knowledge and brilliance of the manager, combined with their ability and also the influence of all the lunatics who've been going to the game this season, whether they were in the ground the other night, whether they were at Anfield for one game in the group stage, whether they went to the parade. Every single person has had a massive influence on this, and it feels like a perfect coming together of everyone who's involved with the club, and then to be able to revel in it, it's just perfect, isn't it?
And it feels like it's what this group of players have deserved as well. You know, you mentioned the 97 points, that in any other Premier League season pretty much guarantees you a league title. Liverpool a few weeks ago, we're all sort of staring into the abyss. I remember being sat in the new camp and just thinking that I felt like this season was over. I can't remember at that point whether the company had scored his goal or not, but I sort of expected City to win their remaining games anyway. And Barcelona had obviously beaten us 3-0 in the first leg, which felt like a sort of insurmountable lead to get back for Liverpool, but they did, and you know, that's a night that we'll have in history, probably one of the best nights that Anfield has ever seen, and we were there to witness it, and then we were there again in Madrid to watch them lift the 6th European Cup, and that for me is just, it's an indescribable feeling following this football team, because I followed this football team through some, quite frankly, rubbish times. I've watched some rubbish managers and some rubbish players, and there's not a single one of these players that I think is on that level, and I think this manager is one of the best managers, if not the best manager in world football, and I think that probably, as you say, makes Liverpool the best team in world football.
Ian, remember when we were asked about the Premier League? Remember when we thought that was the be-all and end-all? What a gang of gobshites we are, like, fucking hell. Nothing beats that the other night. Nothing beats turning up to a foreign city, putting your stamp on something, taking home the biggest and most aesthetically pleasing trophy in the game, and going, fucking off that. This is what we are. This is what we're about. That is the pinnacle. That is the ultimate that you can do as a football supporter, isn't it?
It's simply the greatest trophy you can claim in the game, and I think there's a mystique, there's a glamour to it, and yes, you mentioned the kind of title there, and obviously it was important to us because we know why, all the reasons about, you know, not winning for so long, etc. But actually the European Cup, there is just something so special about it, and personally I take a huge sense of pride in what this club's done, because Josh alludes to it there. You think it's dead buried a couple of weeks ago, you think it's done, you think it's finished, the season will end on a really kind of disappointing note, but these lads weren't to be stopped, the manager wasn't to be stopped. There's an absolute drive in these players that you don't see very often in football teams, and a lot of that will come from the manager. I mean, some of the scenes that we've kind of seen, just go back, you know, the pictures of the parade, it starts to bring it to life a little bit, because I think it's still hard to realise what this club's done this season. It's hard for it to sink in, and it's taken a day or two, to be honest. But those pictures of the parade and stuff, they do bring it a little bit more to life. And I mean, some of the photos, it's reminiscent of something you'd see in South America, for instance, where it just looked like absolute carnage. There's flares going off, there's bodies everywhere, people are climbing on things just to get a better look. And we have a go at social media sometimes, and rightly so. But this is when it comes into its own. This is when it's brilliant. This is when it's absolutely perfect and ideal, because we get to see those players, that manager, this football club absolutely relish being European champions for the 6th time.
Timo, I don't think anyone else does this quite like us. And I don't mean just winning the trophies.
Get on this bus for 20 fucking hours.
Well, there's that. We are a very unique group of 10 or so psychopaths. But generally, no one does this quite like Liverpool. And I don't just mean the way that they play and the fact that they win the trophies. I mean, the atmosphere in the ground, the fact that 50, 60,000 people turn up to a fan park, the fact that 750,000 more people than live in Liverpool and the surrounding areas turn up to watch that parade. It means more to Liverpool, and it's quite complicated. That it's to do with the identity of the city, of the people, of the club all together. But I just think we're the best.
Yeah.
All together, we're the best.
I totally agree with you. And you know, over a few things last night, I was kind of saying on the thing of, you know, people take a real pride in going out of Liverpool, and they take on this thing that they are like almost like an ambassador for the city. You know, every single person I've seen around there, out of all the people who were seen, were just having a good time. They weren't causing no mischief, went up to nothing other than having a good time, and they do the city proud. And I think when Liverpool goes somewhere, it's just posh, it's fabulous. You know, I went over to Munich and I sort of tapped on a little bit of it than what I saw the weekend. It's just like, just fills you just with pure pride that I was lucky enough to be born in Liverpool. You know what I mean? My dad tells about Rome and all these big games you went to and partied and all these, and I felt like I've touched on a bit of that. And you know, over the next few days, I'll just be like, keep filling my mind with just like really nice stuff, and people smiling and having a good time. So yeah, boss.
I think the other thing on that as well is when you get to experience something like this, it does remind you just what a juggernaut this football club is. It's absolutely huge. Dan mentions 50,000 there. I've seen reports today suggesting it was 90,000. Now, whether that's exaggerated or not, I'm not too sure, but what I do know is you could not move for Liverpool fans. We took over Madrid, it was a sea of red, and whether you were in the ground or not, and I was one of those that didn't have a ticket and didn't manage to get in, there was still a sense of purpose that you had to be there. That was the big thing for me. I wanted to be there. I wanted to enjoy it with like-minded people. I wanted to be in Madrid. Yes, Liverpool looks great, and there's a part of me that thinks it would have been nice to have seen the parade, but just being part of it, just to be able to say you were there, you were around when this football club lifted number 6, that's huge. It's absolutely huge.
On Friday, I was just having a drink, getting myself kind of ready, and Danny Nicol phoned me and he said, "We've got you on, you're playing tomorrow." And I was like, when I got there,
there was never a doubt.
No, when I got there Saturday morning, I walked down through the fan park, and I left my mate, I was with Sean, and then I got down, I was like, this looks alright, this looks decent. And then I looked at my watch, we went for something to eat, and we were just having a little buzz with Webster and John Power and Kieran, and everyone went for a nice meal, and then he said, right, you're on in 45. And when I got back, I went, fucking hell, I haven't prepared for this. And again, it's just kind of like, you know, I watched the match in basically like a pub like San Quentin, through bars outside, and just like watched it, and that was great, but I just couldn't get my head around every single bit of like emotional like madness I've just been involved in the last couple of days. And I've been on this bus, I know you're all probably sick of the bus, but I've had a great time, and I'm loving it.
I never want it to end.
I don't really.
The pace we're going at it right now, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, can't wait to get home, but like, you know, I'm not like sitting here going, I'm enjoying myself still.
It's worth touching on something that Timo mentions there about the behaviour of the fans, because then it's something that Ian mentions as well. You see a lot of shit, and I think this season has been particularly bad for social media point scoring between opposition supporters. It's been a hellhole at times, to be honest. But the amount of Tottenham fans that I came across in Madrid, obviously they were massively outnumbered by Liverpool fans, because like I say, no one really does it quite like us, but they were an absolute pleasure to be around. I even spoke to some of them in the service stations on the way home after the game, and despite the defeat, all they could say was praise about the Liverpool supporters they'd come across, the times they'd had there. The fact that they were just in a Champions League final, I think they were just blessed to be there, and they knew that Liverpool deserved the win. One of them even said to me that he thought going into the game that Tottenham would be basically robbing Liverpool if they were to have won the Champions League over them. So I think it's worth saying that while the Liverpool fans' behaviour was like exemplary, like Timo says, the Tottenham fans were a pleasure to be around as well.
I think that's important to mention, because there's been, certainly on social media, you feel like you're having running battles with fans all the time, and it was nice to suddenly have conversations with the supporters of the team who actually they recognise what this Liverpool team's about. We know we recognise it because we see them all the time, but sometimes you get the sense of no one ever gives this Liverpool team credit, and that might not mean anything to anyone. Maybe you can kind of overlook it and stuff, but it was nice to have normal football conversations with other supporters who recognise just how good this Liverpool side is and what potentially they could go on and do. And you mentioned it there, Josh, there was a number of Spurs fans who said, we were made up to be here, and it would have felt probably like taking something away from Liverpool if they got 97 points, played how we played, done what we'd done, Barcelona, etc., and to not have won it would have felt extremely cruel, and in the end we got what we deserved.
Right, that's enough praise for Tottenham, whose ours, quite frankly, we're the champions of Europe. Josh, what strikes me and the sort of most special moment, I think, in the aftermath of it, when we were in that ground, was when every single one of them runs towards us. Once they've had the sort of shock and they've dropped to the floor that they've won it, every single player at the same time run towards the Liverpool end, jumped right in front of the goal, mere yards, they were 10-15 yards from where we were stood. The connection that we have with them is so special, innit? Because that Istanbul team in 2005 are our heroes and will be forever, quite rightly. And there are loads of Liverpool players that I've loved since. So there's, Gerrard, Suarez, Torres, whoever else. But this collective, along with the manager, is so unique. They all buy into not just the fact that they want to win games of footy and have a laugh with us, and they do want to do that, but also what it means to be part of the club. And that's often a cliche, and I think in the past the club has tried to use that as a way of selling things or whatever, but it's genuine now. The fan park is a sign of that, in that they put that event on. They basically say to the fans, run this, make sure everyone else has a great time. But also, when they're all coming over to us, they're not looking for their families right away, they're not looking to hug each other right away, they're coming straight to us because they want to be a part of it with us. They understand what it means to be not just a Liverpool player but a representative of the city. Timo referred to us going to Madrid as ambassadors for the city of Liverpool before. So are these players. The things that Andy Robertson's done for food banks and that Trent's done for local sports centres and stuff like that, they just seem like an absolutely brilliant group of human beings, and I'm absolutely made up for all of us on this bus and all of you that are listening to this, but I'm also so delighted for all of those people, because they're all fantastic and they've achieved something there that very, very few people will ever equal in their lives.
Yeah, I think it's almost a strange sort of but amazing feeling of pride at the same time, that you're watching these football players who are highly paid athletes. They're just sort of doing their jobs, and at times as a football fan you can feel like you have a divine right to be able to see the things that we saw in Madrid, to be able to win trophies season in season out. And I know there are groups of football fans who feel that way, who feel as though for some reason they deserve these moments. But I think back to Kiev last season when after the game, when the players were on the pitch and all they seemed to want to do was come over to us, and you're seeing Loris Karius apologise, and I know there's some people who'd say he felt like he had to. I'm not sure I definitely agree with that, but it was at the moment that I saw sort of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain stood on his crutches crying his eyes out, Andy Robertson coming over and applauding the fans, and it was just one of them. Like it set me off into tears because I just felt so bad for those lads, but such a sense of pride as well that we got to that point. So to have that moment completely flipped on its head this time round, and I cried my eyes out to see, well, pretty much as soon as Divock Origi's goal went in, and then for the following 45 minutes to an hour after that. But the most sort of ugly cry I did was when all the players ran towards us, because it was this weird mixture of like absolute sheer joy, but I was also just pissing myself at the fact that like they were all just doing this big like gallop towards us, and Joel Matip's limbs just absolutely everywhere as he's going mad. And yeah, it was just an absolutely amazing moment, and I hope that the people who watched that at home got that sense as well. I'm sure they would, because I think we all share in our sort of pride for supporting Liverpool, our pride and our love for this Liverpool team, because it's absolutely undeniable.
And Timo, there's nothing other than football that brings us to this state. Josh is talking about there being in bits. There's the video with Jordan Henderson and his dad, which is absolutely fantastic. So many of the players at various stages are in bits. There's the really good photo as well of Trent, where he just has to go and have a sit down in the tunnel. It's that emotional toll that it takes on you, the sheer intensity of it. There's nothing else in your life that makes you feel quite like that, is there?
No, that's a false thing, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I remember going in 2005 to when they brought the cup home with all my mates, and we ran to town and stand on St George's Plateau, almost there, and I couldn't really see them, but all I could see was Jimmy Traore, proper smiling. I remember crying then and thinking, you know what, lad, brilliant, you've had some, like, your boss, you know what I mean, I don't even care, just look how happy you are, and I am, and you can't even see me, but I can see you. And then pictures what I seen of that team on that bus, and just like, I don't know, just takes to like another point, doesn't it? Just like, you know, and a massive thing, what I think it does is parent-child, you know what I mean? It's like, I saw Tizza with his little lad on the stage, and signing his daughter, and it's like, you can see a proper family connection, which we're all envious of in France. Yesterday, you see families walking around with the families, not on the phones, and football does that to like parent-child, dad, son, you know, whoever it is, you just see people just crying together, and it's amazing.
Ian, just before we end part one, I want to talk about the bond that we've got with them a little bit more, because it struck me yesterday, you know, we were talking about this being, you know, Saturday, one of the best nights of our lives, the trip as a whole, one of the best periods you will ever experience. You know, there's nothing better, I don't think, than getting on a bus to follow your footy team across Europe with people that you genuinely care about, your mates. When we get to the end of our lives, whenever that is, and we look back on the highlights and the things that we enjoyed the most, and we think the things that we felt the most, the things that you, I, and everyone listening to this look back on, i.e. Saturday night, are also the same as what Mo Salah's going to look back on, and Jurgen Klopp, and Alisson, and everyone who's in the ground. And although we're not equal, you know, you and I and everyone else hasn't had an equal role in Liverpool winning this European Cup, although I will very much state that we have had, considering, you know, what happened with Barca and everything. We haven't had an equal role though, but we all get the same memory, we all get the same human experience there, that no matter the difference between us and the fact that, you know, we'll never probably meet them and have a chat with them and whatever, and be able to tell them what it means, but they know that we all share in this together, and when it comes to the end, whenever that is, this is one of the most alive you've ever been.
I think the being in this together bit is really important to me. I saw a tweet from Fowler before, and obviously Fowler's played for the club and stuff, he's never won a European Cup, and obviously he's now an ambassador, and he's about to finish that kind of piece of work as he goes off to Australia. But he said just being involved a little bit meant the world to it, because there is that sense of connection that you probably don't get with any other football club, and we've certainly got that with these players. And as someone who's gone for a long time now, I can't think of another side, another set of players that I've related to more. I'm of the kind of thought that I don't really get attached to footballers. It's all about the club. The club's the most important thing, and the footballers are just lads who play there. They come, they go. But because we feel like we know these lads because of all the side stories, and you mentioned before Andy Robbo, there's the Jordan Henderson thing, it does feel like you know them. You do feel like there's more of a connection, you can relate to them. And I think they get us, more importantly. And again, I think some of that, or a lot of that, comes down to the manager. When he goes out to recruit and to pick players, I think the due diligence is a huge piece. He wants unbelievable fellas as well as good footballers. He wants them to get it. He wants them to get what it's like to play for this football club, to represent this football club, and as Timo said, to represent the city. And that's a huge thing for me. So I think that is something we recognise in the work that he's done during his tenure, is the ability to be able to bring in the right group of people, the right individuals who are befitting, quite frankly, to represent this club. And that's what he's done.
Right, that is it for part one. We'll be back in a second talking about the match in more detail. back now for part 2 on the bus from the Anfield wrap, and we're going to talk about the actual physical game of soccer that took place a little bit. It's hard to remember really that was the thing in amongst all the fervour, but some fellas kicked a footy about for a while before we all went mental, and it's weird, isn't it? Do you remember that part? Craig, it was absolutely terrible as a game of football really. I remember saying at half time to Josh Eggert, who was stood next to me, it was like watching two English teams playing the Barclays Asia Trophy final in Hong Kong in July or something, rather than like the most elite game of club football that exists. I mean, it doesn't matter that it was terrible. All that mattered was the result, and Liverpool got the trophy. But yeah, it was hard going as a watch, wasn't it?
It really was. It was it was an excruciating watch, really. If someone had a camera on me throughout the game, which something we'll never do, so nobody tweet in. If someone had a camera on me, I would have looked horrendous. I would have looked like a shell of a man, because it was obviously the first goal goes in after a minute and a half, and suddenly both managers' team talks are just thrown out the window, because it's just a completely different game of football. It's as if we'd started 1-0 up. It was so early, and from then on it was just a dog of a game. And Neil was kind of talking me throughout it.
He's good at doing that, isn't he?
He's really good, but then I had to ask him to politely stop telling me what time it was, because he was making the time go slower. He kept saying 65 we're on now, Craig, and I'm like, Neil, stop this immediately. And sort of there were patches throughout the game where Spurs looked threatening without ever really being threatening. I'm struggling to think of any opportunities they had in the first half, especially. Second half, there was Alisson had to make quite a number of saves, but minus maybe the one chance for Ali, I think it is, from the header. That was the one where I was like, it's kind of a hard game to dissect for a couple of reasons, because we watched it from the stands. We haven't watched it fully back, but it was just a very, very strange European Cup final. Like you said, it felt like a bit of a friendly. It was the heat and temperature and humidity of a friendly in Hong Kong. I can tell you that. In that stadium, it was the hottest I've ever been. So playing in it, I don't think anyone's spoken about this, and I know we're not allowed to talk about the weather as Liverpool fans, because Klopp loves to do anyway, but I am a man that likes the weather. And it's so humid. It was so humid. It was like 30-degree heat, so to play in that, two English sides would have been difficult. And me and you did 5 Live, didn't we? Yeah. And the first question they asked us was, they had Spurs fans on, and the first question they asked was, does it taint it a little bit? Does it take away from it a little bit that, everyone around the UK and the world that watched is saying it was a disappointing final to watch? They thought it'd be this great game, this chaotic game, and we both just sort of laughed and said, well, it was even better that's the case, because it does not taint that one bit. And there's been far too many times in the past that this Liverpool side have almost needed chaos to happen or to create the chaos for them to be the winners of the game. But I just felt it was just a really mature performance.
And that first goal really does throw you, doesn't it, when the penalty gets given, because obviously no one's expecting any kind of sort of serious chance or anything that early in the game, and once it was given, the end there was a bit of a celebration of it, but I think most people were just stunned. Is this really happening? And he's not going to check the video. We've got a pen. We've definitely got a pen in a European Cup final after 31 seconds. All right, I'm on board with it. Let's see what happens. And it just felt like it made the atmosphere really weird, not necessarily in a negative sense, but I think the fact that everyone was so up for it, ready to have a bit of aggression about them, a bit of fight, the fact that we go ahead so early made it a really strange game.
You've got there's a couple of reasons possibly for that, and they could all be bullshit, but we've suddenly got something to lose.
Yeah.
For 1-0 up, we've suddenly got something to lose, and that's when the party brain that starts worrying about stuff and gets anxious about stuff, starts getting worried and anxious because you're not at 0-0, you're not at parity, are you? And I don't think either manager wants a chaos, and sometimes you need both teams to engage. Unless you're really good, and we are really good, but we didn't need to create chaos because we had that lead. Who knows how it would have played out had we not got one. Just one small thing on the penalty, have you watched it back?
The penalty itself?
The actual, the execution of it.
Yeah. Him taking the penalty, it looked like a really poor pen in the ground.
It goes past Loris's head. Well, it's a mad one. It goes past Loris's head, but he hits it that hard. He hits it so hard. He's got no time to adjust. So on one hand, if you put a pin where it went in the goal, you go, he's got away with one there. but he's hit it so hard. It's in before Lawrence can move. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Because it went off and you can't right, so what happens now? Do we sit in?
Yeah.
Do we wait for Spurs to engage? What reference then? They just didn't. Whether they were playing the long game, whether they needed time to collect themselves, whether that fear the teams have of us. And listen, this isn't a myth. The Bayern Munich manager said it. Guardiola said it. They've all said it. There is that worry that if you come on to us, you're asking for it. And I don't think it's any coincidence that when Spurs did start to engage second half, we started to get our chances. Milner had the one that went past the post, which I thought was in, by the way, from my vantage point.
Oh yeah, the move from Manny, by the way, when he kept hold of the ball for 5 minutes on his own because the game was terrible, and he just thought, I'll make it good then. I'll just be the best player on the pitch for 30 seconds and try and get a second goal.
Well, I think Lawrence thinks it's gone in as well. Because you know the way goalies sometimes you have that resigned little slump.
Yeah.
And Lawrence just plants his feet and just whistles past the post, and then of course we do get the second, and then it's party time. But as a game, it was more of a war of attrition than a football fixture. But you know what? None of that matters because it was more of attrition played out on our terms because we had the lead. So take it all. Put it this way: I'd much rather play I'd rather have a game like that and win than play fantastically well and end up heroic losers.
It's also worth noting as well. It's really difficult to keep a clean sheet in the Champions League final. Like, I was thinking about this and I was going through them in my head, and I think it's 2010 was the last time a team
Inter Milan against Bayern.
Sheet. It was Inter Milan, 2009-2010 season. So that's almost 10 years, and for us to go 1-0 up so early in the game, and like if it sort of unsettled us as fans, then what does it do to a player in a Champions League final? Because it's like, God, what do we do now? Do you go for it? You don't want to. I think it's a difficult thing to manage, and I think they managed it really well, and that's where I think that's that maturity and that character, and loads of talk around Klopp saying mentality giants and or mentality monsters, sorry, and he's completely right that in the past, far too many times in the past, we would have seen Liverpool sides collapse, or the pressure would be too much for them. Not this side. He just sort of managed the game quite well, I thought.
There is an argument down that Jurgen, and again, you could never, on a Shasta, you'd never know this, but there's an argument that Jurgen made the game the way it was after winning 1-0 up, which there's a massive irony in this, considering everyone just thinks of Jurgen as this, the
bringer of chaos.
Yeah, heavy metal football and all that. And if that is, or was a deliberate thing, well, that flies in the face of everything that you think and shows once again. And I think it does us a favour that people regard Jurgen as this chaotic manager. I think Mourinho's referenced it before, quite bitterly actually. I think he said, well, he's not, how is he a world-class manager? He hasn't won anything. He's a motivator. This motivator tag that he has. And if he's done that deliberately, well, fair play to him, but long may they underestimate.
Ian, I want to talk about the goal scorer because it's such a cathartic moment after last year, after the heartache, after the tears on the pitch when he goes off injured, and we're sort of done from that moment. I think the heads drop in the stands in Kiev. I think the heads drop on the pitch. Adam Lallana comes on and he's a talented footballer, but obviously no one believes he's capable of doing the things that Mohamed Salah does. So for him to arrive on that stage again and so early on put his stamp on it, so early exercise those demons was brilliant. And to see his celebration back afterwards and stuff, I was so overjoyed for him as a man, because he's been probably the most incredible footballer I've seen play for Liverpool, certainly in the short amount of time that he's been here, and he deserves that moment. He deserves his name on that score sheet in the history books forever.
I think if you probably asked a group of Liverpool fans who they wanted to score the first goal, many would have said Mohamed Salah, because of what happened to him against Madrid and the way it all ended. He had a brilliant season, and for it to end like that was a huge blow for him and for us. And it was great to see him score a pen in it's a pressure moment, that. I mean, to come so early as well, he's barely touched the football and he had to take the penalty. I don't think it's a great pen, but it goes in, so he was asked. In terms of the game itself, I mean, it reminded me very much of Juve Milan in terms of a contest going back to 2003. It wasn't great as a spectacle, but Pochettino says at the end of the game, cup finals are all about winning. That's all it's about, and that's what Liverpool do. They win the game. And I think, without being great, I think maybe Liverpool do deserve a little bit more credit than maybe what some have given, certainly the wider media. I felt watching it at the time that Spurs were actually doing pretty well in parts of the first half, but then you realise they don't have a shot on target until 73. And the game itself was not great. You know, Liverpool aren't stringing passes together, neither Spurs. I saw, I think, something by Jonathan Lew this morning where he referenced the fact that the ball was at a play for 40 minutes, which is pretty high. So, as a spectacle, not great, but you just keep coming back to the fact that none of that mattered. All that mattered was that Liverpool took that big, shiny thing home, and that's what we do.
Craig, did you ever doubt it then? So it's 1-0, it's not a great game of footy. Tottenham aren't doing an awful lot. They've got quite a bit of the football, but they're not getting in and around the box. At any stage from when Liverpool are 1-0 up, did you think these are going to score here? Or do you think this might go to extra time and we might have to go again? Or were you totally believing the mentality giants? Because they have taught us over the course of the season that just when you think they're done is when they go again, is when they prove how good they are.
There wasn't a moment where I was thinking. There wasn't a moment that I was thinking, and this is easy now in hindsight, but there wasn't a moment I was thinking, oh God, you know, I can see a goal coming in the next 10. It really looks like there was the build-up play, but they were never building on that final. There was nothing in that final sort of, you know, around the box. There was nothing to suggest that they would in that first half, especially. I think just because the stakes are so high in a European Cup final, as a fan, I don't know whether this is just me, but as a fan, you're just worried. You're stressing.
There weren't that many alarms going off, were there?
No, there weren't. But then
when it gets into that red zone where you're like, shit.
No, there weren't. But then, you know, you remember being 1-1 in Kiev, and you remember the elation of being back in the game 1-1, and then it's taken away from you, and you remember that feeling, and so that's in the back of your head. What if this one's taken away from me again? Anything can happen in a game of football. You know, Son could score one out of nothing, or, you know, that one where he's running past Van Dijk, he almost had it. And I think little moments like that, but looking back on the game, like, there was nothing really sort of tangible for Spurs to sort of hang their hat on, as to say that, you know, they battered down the hatches and they put us under real pressure. Like, you know, there were saves from Alisson, but then, you know, there's saves that we've seen him make all season, and I thought he was, maybe we'll go on to this, but I thought he was our best player in terms of, maybe that's half because what we had before in terms of going to Kiev, the keeper that we had in nets then, and what we have now, but with him I just felt so calm.
I think that does play into the conversation what you've mentioned there about Karius, and obviously this year with Alisson. I think he does make some good saves. What I would say is, a goalkeeper of that quality, and he is undoubtedly one of the best in the world, I would expect him to make pretty much all of those saves. I think what was really good about him was that he was so front foot at times, and there were opportunities where Spurs had a chance to get in behind, but because the keeper was off his line so quickly, and there was a couple in particular where he just takes them so nonchalantly, you think that's easy, but actually it's not that easy. We've seen keepers make mistakes, and obviously, you know, they've resulted in goals in the past because maybe the concentration levels haven't quite been there. He's absolutely elite at that part of the game, and I thought that he takes all the pressure off. What Dan mentioned before, and you mentioned about best plays and stuff, I think Mane was brilliant.
The video of this is going to be great.
I know, we're in the dark here. If you're watching on YouTube, apologies for that. We're just going to stick on the goalkeeper for a minute, though, because I know you're going to want to talk about him. But for me, in terms of outfield performances, Liverpool, I don't think played that much better really than Kiev. So they've come away with the trophy this time. They obviously played a better team in Kiev and Real Madrid. I don't think Liverpool play an awful lot better. No. The difference for me is the goalkeeper. That's the change. That's why Liverpool win a final this year that they lost last season. That's the change. And it's not the saves, it's the calmness he exudes throughout. Nobody on the pitch, no one in the stand ever thinks there's an issue, because there's loads of high balls going in there second half that he's just claiming like it's the easiest thing in the world. And his aura, his demeanour, for me, was a massive part of Liverpool coming home with the Champions League trophy.
Well, you know what, it's twofold this, and I know he played in Kiev, but let me extrapolate the point. I think it's a combination of him and Van Dijk. Just to quickly reference what Craig was saying there on the Son thing, if you could encapsulate what Virgil van Dijk brings to this team, it's the 1 second where you think for the first time all year someone's done Van Dijk, and it just puts his foot down like an accelerator on a really, really expensive car, and then it's suddenly gone. Someone who knows far more about football than I phoned me the day after the final, and all he would talk about is Alisson Becker. And what he was saying was, he said, look, the best goalkeepers allow so much, they do so much more than keep goals. So in so much as that you can play deeper, but at the same time you can play a higher line, because the defender, you can give you, basically what he was trying to, and I'm expressing this poorly, is that he takes so much pressure off the defenders. where they haven't got to worry about what the fella behind them's doing.
Exactly, yeah.
Because they just know he's going to do the job, and if they need to bail them out, he'll bail them out as well. You can just see the calmness he exudes, and this is born out of the mistake he made at Leicester. 2 minutes after he made the mistake at Leicester, there was a ball into feet in the box under pressure, just gets rid of it.
Yeah.
Unflappable. And the best goalkeepers in those situations are decisive, aggressive and unflappable. And he's all of those three. That little run in the second half where they had 2 shots, the long range shot that he pushed out.
And the chance for Mora afterwards.
And the one for Mora. Now look, as Ian's right, they're safe you should make. But in those high pressure situations, there's a lot of goalkeepers either don't get the ball far out enough, or on the return shot, retain the ball and smother it. I don't think it's any coincidence that handball actually runs in the family. You know, he's about his calmness going up and his handling. But I think also his attitude. He just looks like... What I'd say to you is, Simon Mignolet, I think he's slightly taller than Alisson Becker. But if I said to you, which one fills the goal more?
Alisson Becker's a bigger man.
Do you know what I mean?
He's got more presence as a man.
No, but how do you measure that? What is it? What is it? He looks like the difference. You were absolutely spot on. We played no better than what we did in Kiev last year. And when we equalised in Kiev, I think because they scored so quickly, they were taken away from us. But the foundations that this side were built on are much stronger, which allows you to gain points when you are at your best. How many times in the past is this football club, and I know I'm going over time here, where if we didn't play well, we wouldn't win. To win, we had to play, even the Jurgen Klopp, to play well, to win, we had to play well. Look how many decisive moments, not just the goalkeeper, right through the team, how many decisive moments over the course of the season have come when we've not played particularly well, we've delivered in big moments. There's the difference.
Right, just before we finish part 2 then, we've got to
Sorry
talk...
for going on.
Don't worry about it, it's great. We've got to talk about the second goal, Craig. It's the winner. It's the most important goal that any of us have ever seen. Well, you know what struck me about him most was I thought he was poor when he came on, Origi, and I was really looking forward to him coming on from half time. Really, I wanted to see him because Firmino looked really injured, looked really tired. He couldn't get into the game at all, and that's no fault of his own. The manager's taking a risk on him. Totally understand why. I would have done the same thing. Everyone would have. Definitely. It didn't work. I was looking forward to Origi because he'd be more direct. He'd have a physical presence. When he came on, he looked lively, but his passing was really poor. There was a couple of 2-on-1s where he just couldn't play it right, and you were thinking, well, this hasn't really worked, and maybe if they were to score, we'd need another attacking change for extra time or whatever. And then suddenly that ball drops in the box after the Mata pass, and before he hits it, there's no one else that plays for Liverpool, and arguably has ever played for Liverpool, quite frankly, that I'd rather that ball drop to. Not in terms of who I want to score the goal, but genuinely in terms of who I back to score the goal, because he's proven over the course of this season that he's the man for the moment. Always, he's the man who will do the improbable, and also he's a great finisher. So in that moment there, I've got full confidence in him. He backs himself, I back him, we all back him, and it goes in. And those few moments afterwards.
Oh, it was bedlam. I think coming into this final, you're exactly right. You go with Firmino, you have to. He's been vital to everything that's been good about Jurgen Klopp's side. But Divock Origi was this wild card sort of cult hero coming into this game, who can just do these things, who can be part of these big moments, and you know, Everton, obviously, Newcastle to keep us going into the last game of the season, Barcelona 2 goals in the semi-final of a European Cup, and then the goal that secures the European Cup for Liverpool. And you know, the debate around over the past 10 years is someone like Luis Suarez a legend, is someone like Fernando Torres a legend, and they don't win anything of real note. Scores loads of goals. Divock Origi, a club legend. Me and you spoke about this yesterday. The things he's done, you know, are things that some of the best footballers ever to have walked this planet have never done within world football. And he's provided us with possibly the biggest moment of our lives. And he's provided us with some of the most enjoyable moments, obviously the Merseyside derby. But that goal is just everything you want as a football fan in a European Cup final. The goal that secures it gives you that big let off. It means that the last 10 minutes you can enjoy.
That shot behind the goal, by the way.
You can, oh my word, watch it. The BT no filter where it's behind Origi as he hits it and he celebrates, and it's bedlam. They're crawling over each other and climbing over their mates and hugging and crying and screaming, and that is what you want in a European Cup final. And you know, we get the really early goal and we're buzzing about that, but then we spend the next 75 minutes or whatever it was, 80 minutes, you know, just nervous wrecks, and then Origi gives us this moment of just like it was just insane. It was euphoria and it was pure bliss, and I will forever love him for giving us that.
Now on to part 3 of this Champions of Europe Anfield Wrap special free podcast, live from what is effectively the Wenger bus, really, if we're all being honest, as we make our way back towards Liverpool, creeping ever closer to the French border. I've now got with me Josh Sexton, Craig Cannon and Sean Walsh to do a bit of young fellas chat. We did this last year on the way to Kiev. We did it in Rome. We did one in Munich as well, didn't we, I think? Where basically we talk about as our sort of under 30s experience from the game. Well, basically we've had to bring Craig Cannon back, even though he's got a mortgage. He still counts vaguely as a young fella, and he's the youngest fella we've got on this bus to make it a 4. So yeah, we're just basically going to talk about the fact that, you know, this is still a relatively new experience for us. It's the first European Cup win that we've genuinely lived. We were all too young for Istanbul to really experience it properly. And Josh, we've been on holiday there with our mates for a mad week, people that you really love and care about, and we've watched our footy team do the best thing they can ever possibly do. It's just one of the pinnacles of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, a few people I've seen tweeting over the last few days have sort of summed it up best for me in terms of, you know, I think Craig did one after the game where he said about, you know, being stood with all your mates and getting to witness that experience, but there's also a few people who were like thanking their dads and stuff like that for making them Reds, and I sort of think that's a really important thing in all this, because we've all had this passed down onto us by you know, our dads and our granddads and our parents. We've been past this almost mantle of supporting Liverpool Football Club and you know, being proud of Liverpool Football Club, being proud of, you know, being from the city for you guys, just being proud of the city for someone like me who's born outside of it but living in it now, and getting to be a part of that every day is something which is massively special to me. It's something that I hold really close to my heart, and I think that came across in the emotion that I felt after the game, that it was an amazing time to be alive. This whole weekend has been an amazing time to be alive, and this is a trip, this is a football match, this is a football team that I will never ever forget. Just in the same way that, you know, throughout the 80s, my dad would have thought about them football teams in the same way, and my brother would have thought about that in Istanbul. I'm now getting to live this for myself, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Craig, often on sort of like momentous things that happen in my life or things around my life, I think about all the sort of butterfly effect things that have led me to it, like all the little tiny decisions, you know, that have led you to that moment. So Josh talks about not actually being born in Liverpool, but the fact that his dad is a Liverpool supporter makes him a Liverpool supporter. But there's also, you know, you've moved to Liverpool, you've taken a risk, you've moved from Belfast to Newcastle and then to Liverpool. All the little things, all the little choices that we've made in our lives have led us to this right now, where we're sat on this bus doing this podcast together as mates. Yeah. And it's so mad to comprehend that. I think that this is where we've got to.
Make me cry again.
It's the best thing possible. Like genuinely, I'm sat here now thinking I wouldn't change any tiny thing about my life ever, because it might mean that I'm not here right now doing this.
No, and even the devastation of last year, there's the one that I keep thinking about is how awful it felt coming out of the stadium. And do you know what? Even to be honest, how awful I felt coming out of the stadium at the Nou Camp in the semi-final first leg, which sounds silly now, but at the time I was just like, I was heartbroken, and it was the same after Kiev, because I fully believed it. And all of these little moments make this one even sweeter. And I think you're thinking about the butterfly sort of effect leading up to this moment. I'm thinking of the butterfly effect from here on in, and I'm thinking about what happens next. And I honestly I saw that game as one of the most pivotal in our history, really, in terms of what happens next, because we now have our own Shankly or our own Paisley, don't we? But there was always this little niggle and worry with me that, you know, what if we don't win something with Klopp, and what if we just have the best time we can possibly have supporting this team, but we never get the shiny thing at the end? And that was the little niggle and worry. And the thing that came out of leaving Kiev last year was that, you know, we had a brilliant time, but, you know, we didn't win it. This time we're coming home, we had a great time, but we get to basically we get to do the 6 fingers thing 20 times a day for the next 12 months. And
Still trying to figure out which finger on the other hand to use.
I might do a Twitter poll actually, because like I need to have this sorted by the time I get back to England, because
I think James Milner's boxed us, you know. So when all the players running towards us, James Milner did the index finger. So I reckon I'm going with the index finger.
I've been doing the index finger, but
Trent did the thumb. That's what I mean.
Trent did the thumb, didn't he?
I did a thumb in a picture and an index finger in another picture, and it sent my head west, to be honest. So
because the thumb to me looks a bit like 6 and also it's right at the same time, so I'm a big fan of the thumb.
yeah, but I think you're right, and I think like there is that communal aspect, and there is the thing with me where as soon as there was sort of the noise levels had dipped even slightly within the stadium near the end, when people were finally starting to leave about 2 hours after we'd lifted the trophy, like speaking to my dad and you know, him saying like, do you remember watching Istanbul at home, and now you're there watching it like live, and you know, seeing people's pictures, putting their pictures up with their dad. I saw Neil Dawkins do it. I've seen quite a few back in Liverpool, and you know, with their sons, and that's just a lovely thing, isn't it? That we all get to share this with new mates and old mates and family members who have made us Liverpool fans.
I'm so glad that they, as you just said then, like, they've got something to show for this now. We haven't just been watching this team like enjoying it for the sake of having a nice time. They've actually got the medals now to go, we were on the boss time and get on this. Like, remember there was a story on the Anfield app ages ago when we were going for the league title, and I think it was Rob Gutman said he'd give Istanbul for a league title, and Gibbo went, fuck off, that's my one, give them fucking 77 or something, fuck off. And now we have our own one. We talked so much about it last year ahead of Kiev, and obviously it was so disappointing about it without the big shiny thing to show for the journey that we've been on. And now we have, I mean, it's not just for our generation, but it's something that we will have forever, and it's something our grandkids will ask us about, the way we ask our granddads, and the way our granddads and dads got us into watching football. We'll do the same for them, boring them about Virgil van Dijk, about Mo Salah, about Sadio Mane, and the way we've been asking like older generations this season, oh, how good is X compared to Y when you were watching footy when you were younger? People will be asking us about the current players then, how good is he compared to Virgil van Dijk, and go, he's fucking shit, lad, you should have seen Virgil. Honestly, he was unbelievable.
I can't wait to be an eyelash, you know.
I know. We're going to be all the twats in the main stand going, these are all shit, lad, you should have seen it in Madrid.
We shouldn't disregard Kiev though. Like, Kiev is still a part of this journey. I think like you can look at it and say like, oh, we didn't win the big shiny thing at the end, but like that sort of that build up of having the fun and watching that team just sweep us up in that sort of feeling, but not win the trophy, made it all the more sweeter this time, I think, because we all go again. We're all stood in the stadium again together, just like we were in Kiev, and rather than crying, you know, tears of despair after it and sort of being so disappointed for that group of players in what had transpired in that game, it was we were crying tears of joy and laughing along with the players and dancing along with the players and just having the absolute best time of our lives. And like, you know, when my kids and grandkids do come along, I'll still tell them about Rome, and I'll still tell them about the Etihad away and things like that, but then I also get to tell them about Munich away and about Barca at home and about those experiences we had throughout that thing, and then especially about Madrid.
And they will be able to see, not just see like a Barca away and in Manchester, they'll see Jordan Henderson lifting the fucking trophy.
Also, I've been thinking as well, before that, we shouldn't disregard the fact that the older lads now have 2. So, like, you know, the people that are Neil and Gibbo's age have 2, and the lads that are maybe a couple of generations older have
all
5, 6, you know, the greedy pricks. I want 5 and 6 now. I want another one. I don't want another sort of 14 years until the next one, because God, I wouldn't put it past this team to get to another final next year. And something that I've been thinking about that's genuinely lovely about what we get to do, and you know, the fact that fan media exists now, is that we can document these things, and not just us, I mean fans in general, using social media to post their videos and their pictures and everything. Like, we can now see a whole different side to things as to what you would have seen in Istanbul, and even, you know, further back than that. What I loved was you know, being able to see Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain bouncing around with the players in the changing rooms with his phone singing LA, 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 see the videos from the players' party, see them posting from the bus and all of that, because I felt as if I was sort of there. And you know, we often say with the Anfield Rap, the idea of us is to share the experience of supporting Liverpool rather than just tell you what happened in the game, and I think it's great that we get to do this, and be able to look back on that as well, and look back on all of these, like, you know, the road to Madrid talk that we did, where you're going through. It was lovely to put together and lovely to watch Fuad edit, because it was just funny sort of seeing our reactions to these things happening, and that'll be a lovely thing to keep hold of.
Kiev certainly feels a part of this trip, I think, Josh, because I'm not sure any longer that we actually got off the bus between Kiev and this bus, to be honest. I think we might have just been at service stations for 12 months. Like, I've been to games of footy, I think, in between, but I might have just watched them on my phone in here, maybe.
I think about a month ago we were in Jupiter's in town.
I can't believe he started
that
the
seems
Jupiter's.
like so long ago. But honestly, when I walked in and seen a little vending machine for mint imperials in the corner, I was just like, what sort of gaff we walked into here? But yeah,
Great starting point.
as I say, that was about 10 years ago now, so that's almost forgotten. But no, it's been another amazing trip. It's another one of them that you wouldn't change for the world, and you know there's a really sort of crucial point that Craig made there, I think, in terms of what we try and do at the Anfield Wrap, is that we want to share the experience of being able to go to Madrid, where so many people are, you know, unfortunately can't. But what I also love is that the players are almost doing the same for us, if that makes sense. Not necessarily sharing the experience of being a Liverpool player, but they share their experiences with us in terms of documenting what's going on at the players' party and social media, and sort of sharing all the celebrations in the dressing room after and stuff. They want us to be a part of this just as much as we want people who can't go to the game to be a part of going to the game, and I think that's just a sort of lovely little chain of events of being a Liverpool fan, and it makes us all feel as one as well. We were talking in the first part about the way we connect to these players, but it feels like everything at Liverpool Football Club now is just, you know, really well connected. Everything's joined up, all the thinking's joined up, but all the emotion is joined up as well, and there's honestly, in my lifetime, there's never been a better time to be a part of this.
Sorry, just last thing on that is also I said this in Talking Reds, but I want to say it again, is that I've loved watching like different fans' experiences all over the world. So the videos of within the pubs whenever the Origi goal goes in, can't remember if it's New York or it's Australia, but I've watched them all, and I love that. And I love the BT Sports No Filter, and being able to watch that back. And they were filming the Yago Arena in Liverpool and it going off. They were filming, I saw a video from the Sandon in Liverpool. They were filming somewhere else. You're just able to see everyone's different collective experiences all happening at the same time around the world. At the same moment around the world, with different time zones and different settings, and that was lovely, because I don't ever remember sort of seeing that around Istanbul, because there wasn't the phones, there wasn't social media. But yeah,
there's a video from, I think it's Salah's hometown in Egypt
as
and
well.
It's
yeah,
unbelievable. I remember when Chelsea won the Champions League in 2012, was it? When Mata said the best thing about it for him was seeing, not obviously all the Chelsea fans having an amazing time, and he personally had great, like, he's got a Champions League winners medal, but seeing Didier Drogba's a lad from Ivory Coast, Michael Essien playing for Ghana, you know, he's got a lad from Czech Republic in goal, some English lads playing in defence, seeing all these people from all around the world, different cultures, different countries, coming together for this one purpose, to share between them and the people in the stands and the people around the world at home. So it doesn't matter where you are, everyone got the same buzz, you know what I mean? From Egypt to somewhere in town, and even to have the same response.
And even for us as well, because obviously we've not got back in time for the victory parade. I think we're probably going to be 3 days late for it. But like, we were able just to sort of live that through everyone else that was there, and it sort of worked in those two ways. Of the people, you know, there were some that were lucky enough to get flights immediately after the game and get back for both and experience both of them. But for us, so we were at the game and we were lucky, but then we got to watch everyone at the victory parade and their videos and them up in the, and that's, you know, that was great.
What I think is also brilliant as well is that the vast majority of people, in whatever sense they've experienced this, have got something physical to take away from it. So Sean mentioned before that the players have got their medal. So no matter what, because the trophy ends up going back to UEFA, doesn't it? Unless you win it 3 times in a row or 5 times overall. So the club will have a replica. The players will get, I think they get a mini replica as well each, but they'll have that medal and they'll have it wherever they put it. If it was me, I would never take it off. They might put it in a bag in the loft or something, and they'll get it out once every 5 years and have a look at it. They've always got this physical thing. But so have we. We've got photographs of us in the grounds, we've got photographs of us in Bilbao and Bordeaux and whatever else. We on the way out we bought programmes, and we got scarves as well, things that you can physically look at and can take you back to that exact feeling, things that you can touch and look at and feel. And so is everyone else. Everyone who went to that parade, I'm sure loads of them have picked up one little bit of confetti. Yeah. I would have, and they'll take it home. Or someone will have this boss photograph where everything just lines up right and the lighting's right in the background, and they've got, you know, their lad on his dad's shoulders or whatever, and the big brother's next to them and the players are in the background. Everyone's got a thing from this where they can look at it, or they can touch it, or they can listen to it, whatever it might be, and it'll take them right back to what it feels like, because over time the feeling will wear off. Liverpool will at some stage in the next few years go through a phase where they're not very good. They might just lose 3 matches in a row or something like that. So the exhilaration will gradually diminish. It'll last for a long time still, I think, but it will diminish. But we can always go back to it, no matter what's going on, no matter what's going on with Liverpool, no matter what is going on in your personal life or your work life or whatever else. You can just close your eyes and think of it, or you can pick up this scarf, this programme, you can look at this set of photographs, you can watch this video of the parade, you can watch this video of Egypt, whatever means the most to you of all the things that happen, Josh, you can go back to and you can feel it again, and you've always got that in your back pocket, and no one and nothing can ever take that feeling away.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting in the sort of build up to the game when you saw the amount of tickets we're going for, and you know, I was lucky enough that I was one of the people who paid in the sort of lower bracket for ticket prices. And I remember my mum saying to me, she was like, "Oh, why don't you sell your ticket if they're going for like 10 grand?" And I was like, one, it doesn't really work like that, but also, like, I remember walking out the ground and seeing a fellow with a sign saying that he wanted used tickets for his collection. Like, he's clearly not a lad who'd been to the game. He probably just sort of got there after and maybe does that at a few games around Madrid games, Atletico games, Real Madrid games, stuff like that. But I just thought, like, I want to keep that ticket because I want to be able to cherish that memory forever. I've got a little box in my room of like all the ticket stubs and the actual physical tickets of all the games I've been to, and I've got the one from Munich away this season. I've got the ones from Roma and stuff last season, and them tickets. This just piece of paper holds a massively, you know, emotional memory for me now. And like you say, I'll be able to in years' time, and I have done with the tickets I've got from years gone by. Got them out and thought back, and all the images run through my head again, and I'll remember, you know, Salah getting the penalty so early on and scoring it, and us all falling over, and me trying to keep myself upright while Sean was holding me and he'd already fallen over the seat behind, and then when Origi scores and I just burst into tears and fell to my knees while everyone around me was going absolutely mad, and all them images will play through in my mind again, and even like Craig says there, that people sharing their images on social media, you know, I'm going to out him here because you know, we like to do this, but Sam Walkerdine, our videographer, who's an Arsenal fan, said he went to the parade yesterday because he was filming bits for us, and he said it was so emotional that he felt almost moved to tears, and he's just an Arsenal fan. So obviously he's got the connection with Liverpool, having lived there for so many years, but it does that to you, this beautiful thing, this ridiculous sport that we all follow, this leisure activity. It brings you to these moments, and you know, I'm going to be walking home with a piece of paper that I bought for £70, but it's going to be absolutely priceless for me.
And Sean, it's not just stuff that we can look back at as well. So when we are grey and old, we can get this box of tickets out. And we can go, look, this is we want from Barca, this is one from Kiev, we didn't win that one, and you might be telling, you know, your grandkids or whoever it might be, it could be anyone, but people younger than us, and we'll be doing the same thing that people have done to us before, and we say that a lot, but I think actually having a European Cup to know that you're going to tell people about and know that you've got physical mementos from sort of takes that to a new level of reality. It's tangible now. I know what I'm going to tell people, I know what I'm going to show them. I could almost do a presentation tomorrow of what I'm going to say in 60 years time or whatever to people, which is mad, and it's so strange that like time isn't going to fucking stop for anyone, and we'll have whatever to come following Liverpool. You know, we could go to another, as Craig says, 6 or 7 European Cup finals in our lifetime. They could somehow go bust next month and we never watch them play footy again. There are extremes on this scale here, but no matter what, we've got this. We've got it, and we're able to tell anyone who's willing to listen, and even people who probably aren't that willing to listen, quite frankly, that we did this.
And we'll be singing about it when we are grey and old. Still, people still sing about, you know, Graham Souness, people think about players who won the European Cup in 77, 78, 81, whatever. When in 30, 40 years time, people will be singing about Alisson Becker, about Andy Robertson, about Gini Wijnaldum, about all the current players now. People will know the names of these footballers who won this tournament, you know, however long ago they are born. So when they're going to matches singing about the current players, people are going to be singing about the equivalent to Lucas. I don't know who that'll be. Alberto Moreno might get a shout, and people are going, he was like, you hated him when he played for us, why singing about him now?
But look at this picture of him on a hoverboard with his dog.
But when you win a European Cup, it defines your whole career, it defines you as a player and as a person. Jamie Carragher's been on a podcast and said that, like, it doesn't matter what he does, where he goes, what he does next in his career, he's always referred to as Jamie Carragher, European Cup winner on Sky. That's how we announce them. That's all the same players will get the same treatment whatever they do in their lives, whether it's as a footballer, as a pundit, as a presenter, as a commentator, whatever. As someone who wants to just go and start up a property business, who wants to do something in the real world, they will still be known as, you know, X, one European Cup for Liverpool.
Just on that note as well, like, if the lad who owns the pop-up shop in Allerton Road or the one in Old Swan listens to this, can you please save me a full-size cut-out cardboard of the Buckarigi, because it's going in my front room framed, and Rebecca's going to be absolutely fuming about it.
We haven't got time to do more Divock chat, you know, but to be honest,
Promise me this was a Divock special.
We did loads of like emotional alpha chat, lads, sorry. We'll do it later on the tour diary, there's one more of them to come. But for now, Sean mentioned there that the Carragher and every footballer that's ever played for Liverpool and won a European Cup gets listed as European Cup winner. Frankly, I'm going to list you three as European Cup winner as well for the rest of my life. And all of you that are listening to this, you've been a part of this, whatever you've done, whether you've been going all the games, whether you're at the final, whether you're watching from home and supporting from afar, you're a European Cup winner, you are a champion of Europe. Thank you very much for watching this. There'll be loads more on the Anfield app tour players service. It's loads of exclusive podcasts. There'll be looks back at the game, there'll be emotional chats about what we sort of do from here and the fact that Liverpool are going to go and win loads more big shiny silver things. There are these tour diaries as well that if you haven't been listening to, we've just been stopping off in different places on the bus and having a chat about what we've been getting up to. We think they're really good, people seem to like them, so if you're into sort of the culture around the game and that sort of thing and you want to know more about what we've been feeling on the way to the match and back, make sure to do that. There's been a bit of an issue with signing up over the weekend subscriptions, partly because, you know, everyone's just going mad because of the footy and everything, but everything's fixed again now. So if you do want to subscribe, now is genuinely the best time to do it, because we're all absolutely delirious about the 6 times champions of Europe. Thank you very much for listening. Up the European Cup winning Reds.